I felt my hands shake the moment I saw the delivery box lying at my door, wrapped in deep blue paper with soft gold edges. I picked it up and froze when I saw my son's handwriting on the small card. He remembered my birthday. After years of quiet celebrations, that simple truth hit me like a rush of warm air. I whispered, "He remembered." I'm glad you're here. If you're watching this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. My eyes burned a little as I opened the card. To Mom. With love. Such a short message, but it felt like someone finally saw me again. I held the box close, almost afraid the feeling would fade if I let go. I didn't even step inside my home. I walked straight to my son's house, hoping to share that tiny spark of joy with someone. But the moment my daughter-in-law opened the door, the warmth disappeared. She looked at the box with an annoyed expression. "Oh, chocolates. Really? He knows I'm on a diet." I tried to smile. "It's just a birthday thing," I said, my voice unsteady. She folded her arms. "It's kind of insensitive, don't you think?" Her tone made me feel like I had done something wrong just by receiving a gift. I don't know why, but guilt washed over me. Before I could stop myself, I offered the box to her. "Here, you can have them." She raised an eyebrow. "You're sure?" I nodded even though my chest tightened. She took the box without hesitation. "Thanks," she said, already turning away. No happy birthday. No smile. Just taking the gift and walking off. When my son stepped into the hallway, he looked surprised but stayed silent. "Not even a hi, Mom." "Thank you for the gift," I said softly. "Gift?" he asked, confused. She shot him a quick look, and he went quiet. That silence chilled me more than her coldness. I stepped back, feeling like a guest in a home I once felt welcomed in. "I should go," I whispered. "Okay," she said casually, already lifting the lid of the box. My son said nothing as I left. Walking back home, the cold air didn't bother me. What hurt was the emptiness in my hands and the heaviness in my chest. Why did I give it away so quickly? Why did I feel like I didn't deserve it? By the time I reached my door, the happiness I felt minutes ago had vanished. I realized the truth slowly, painfully. I didn't feel worthy of a birthday gift from my own child. That thought crushed me. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe. I felt like a shadow, fading from a family that used to feel like mine. All I had wanted was a simple moment with my son, a smile, a hug, a happy birthday, Mom. But instead, I walked home with nothing but questions. Later that night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The silence felt heavy. My phone never rang. My son never called to check on me. He didn't ask if I liked the chocolates. He didn't even notice they were gone. I whispered, "What did I do wrong?" But the room stayed silent. As the hours passed, I kept seeing the blue box in my mind. The gold edges. The handwriting that had brought me so much hope. Then the way it slipped from my hands into hers. It replayed over and over. And deep inside, a quiet voice whispered. This was not just about chocolates. This was something deeper. Something broken. I didn't know it then, but this was the moment everything started to change. And the truth I would discover soon would shake me even more than losing that box. The next morning, I woke up with a tight feeling in my chest, the kind that warns you something isn't right. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was being too sensitive. But when I went to make tea, I caught my reflection in the kettle. My eyes looked tired, like someone who had forgotten how to feel special. But the memory of her tone wouldn't leave me. Neither would the shock on my son's face when he saw the box in her hands. He hadn't planned for her to have it. I could see that now. Still, I tried to distract myself. I cleaned the living room, watered my plants, even baked a small batch of cookies like I used to when my son was a kid. But every small thing I did brought back another memory of him. His laughter. His tiny hands helping me knead dough. His voice saying, "Mom, you're the best." Where had that boy gone? By afternoon, I couldn't sit still. I walked outside and stood near my window, watching their house. It looked peaceful from the outside. Calm. Perfect. But I knew something ugly lived inside those walls now. something I wasn't ready to face. I kept thinking about the way she spoke to me. The way he stayed silent. The way I felt invisible in a place that used to feel like home. Then a sharper thought cut through everything. Why didn't he call me at all? Not even once. That question burned more than anything else. It felt like my birthday had passed by without leaving even a small mark in his world. And that kind of hurt stays. That night, I sat at my table with a cup of tea going cold in my hands. The house felt too quiet, too empty. I whispered to myself, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. And I didn't know it yet, but the truth waiting for me the next day would hurt more than losing the gift itself. It would show me that the chocolates were only the beginning. And I felt painfully alone inside. I walked into their house the next evening still hurt from how my birthday had passed. My chest felt tight, like something heavy sat inside it. I kept thinking about the box of chocolates I had given away too fast. I kept thinking about how my son didn't call. The pain followed me into their hallway like a shadow. The first thing I saw was the box of chocolates on the kitchen counter. Open. Half-eaten. Sitting there like it had never been mine. My daughter-in-law looked at me and smiled in a way that wasn't warm at all. "Oh, you're here," she said. I forced a small smile. "Did you like them?" She shrugged. "They were okay. I mean, they were for me, so I guess it's fine." My stomach dropped. "For you? He sent them for me." She tilted her head and said, "Don't be silly. Why would he send you something when we're building our own life here?" I turned to my son, waiting for him to say something. Anything. But he just stared at the floor. "Mom, let's not start," he whispered. That hurt more than the lie. "I'm not starting anything," I said softly. "I'm just asking why my birthday gift is being called hers." She laughed, a sharp sound. "Birthday gift? You mean that box you handed over in 2 seconds? You didn't even want it." My voice shook. "I did want it." She rolled her eyes. "Well, only special people get gifts. That's how life works." Those words hit me like a slap. I felt my heart fold in on itself. I stared at my son again, hoping he would step forward. "Is that true?" I asked him. He hesitated. "Let's not fight," he said again. It felt like he had chosen silence over me. Again. I walked to the dining table and placed the small container of food I brought. "I made lasagna," I said quietly. "Your favorite." She smirked. "He doesn't need heavy food right now. We're trying to eat clean." My son said nothing. I stood there, feeling small, like I was fading out of my own family. "I thought you liked it," I said to him. "I do," he said fast. "But, she's right. Maybe later." I nodded, even though it felt like something inside me cracked. The girl he married was speaking for him now, and he didn't even notice. As I turned to leave, I heard her whisper, "See? She tries too hard." He sighed, "Please stop." She snapped, "I'm trying to fix things. Your mother gets attached too easily." My throat tightened. Her words were meant to hurt. And they did. I stepped back into the kitchen doorway and said, "I'm not trying too hard. I'm just being a mother." She crossed her arms. "Well, maybe you should give us space." My son rubbed his forehead. "Can we all calm down?" I looked right at him and said, "Did you know she told me the chocolates were meant for her?" His silence was my answer. He didn't know. He looked at her with shock, but she quickly said, "I just didn't want her to feel weird. I was trying to help." I felt tears burn behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Not in front of her. She spoke again, sharper this time. "Honestly, if you wanted the chocolates so badly, why'd you hand them to me? People don't give away things they care about." I swallowed hard. "I gave them to you because you made me feel like I shouldn't keep them." She smirked. "Then that's on you." My voice lowered. "You knew it was my birthday. And you didn't even say the words." She blinked, then shrugged like it meant nothing. "I forgot. It happens." My son finally looked up, guilt written all over his face. "Mom, I'm sorry." But sorry felt too late. Sorry felt too light. I picked up the lasagna and said, "I'll take this home." You two enjoy dinner. He reached out. Mom, don't go. I pulled my arm away gently. It's fine. I'm used to eating alone. She sighed loudly. See? Drama. My son whispered, please just stop talking. But she didn't. I'm telling the truth. She's acting like a victim again. Again. The word hit me like a stone. I looked at her and said, I'm not acting. I'm hurting. She shrugged, like my pain meant nothing. Well, like I said, only special people get gifts. This time, the words didn't just hurt. They opened my eyes. And in that moment, standing in their kitchen with my lasagna in my hands, I realized something dark and ugly was happening. Something I had ignored for too long. I walked out without looking back, the door closing behind me like a heavy ending. But deep in my chest, a new feeling began to rise. Not weakness. Awareness. And soon, I would learn the truth behind those chocolates. And the truth behind her smile. But that night, as I sat alone, I kept replaying her words and her cold smile. I kept seeing my son's silence and feeling the weight of everything I had done for him. I whispered, when did I become someone who gets pushed aside so easily? The house stayed quiet, but my heart didn't. Something inside me kept asking why my own child couldn't stand up for me. Why he let someone else twist the meaning of my birthday. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that half-eaten box on her counter. I realized I had been shrinking myself for years, hoping things would change. But now the truth was clear. She wanted me to feel small. She wanted control. And my son didn't even see it. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew one thing for sure, something inside me had finally started to wake. And that awakening would change everything very, very soon. I stood there, the sting from the bride's slap still burning on my cheek, but somehow the silence that followed hurt far more. The wedding hall felt colder, even though hundreds of warm lights shimmered overhead. For a moment, it felt like everyone was staring at me, and yet somehow, I had never felt more invisible. My son, Daniel, just stood frozen. His eyes flicked between me and his new wife, Emily. I could see the war inside him, but he didn't move. He didn't reach for me. He didn't even call my name. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I took a step back, steadying myself. Don't fall apart here, not in front of them. Emily's voice cut through the air, sharp and trembling with anger. Why would you do that at my wedding? Why would you embarrass us like this? I opened my mouth to respond, but the words tangled in my chest. I only tried to give you the bracelet. It was your grandmother's. I thought we agreed we didn't want any of your old traditions, she snapped, brushing her hair back as if the very idea annoyed her. Old traditions. Old mother. Old burdens. The words weren't spoken, but I heard them anyway. Daniel finally stepped closer, his voice low. Let's calm down. Please. But he avoided my eyes. That was the part that shattered me. Not the slap, not the accusations, not even the humiliation. It was watching my own child turn his face away from me as if the sight of me was something he couldn't handle right now. I felt myself tremble. Not with anger, but with grief. I whispered, Daniel, sweetheart, I didn't mean to upset her. He finally looked at me, just for a second, and I saw guilt flicker across his face. That tiny flicker was the only thing that kept my heart from collapsing completely. But he still didn't come to me. He still didn't stand beside me. The wedding planner rushed over, all smiles and forced politeness, guiding guests away from the scene. People went back to their plates, their chatter, their wine glasses, pretending nothing had happened. Because that's what you do when a mother breaks. You pretend she's fine. I closed my eyes to steady my breathing. I think I should leave, I murmured. Emily shrugged. If you think that's best. She didn't stop me. Daniel didn't either. I felt like a shadow slipping through the glowing hall, unnoticed by people who just hours earlier had hugged me and congratulated me. Now I was just part of the mess they wanted to ignore. Outside, the night air hugged me with a cold honesty the hall had denied me. The fairy lights on the trees blurred as tears filled my eyes. I had been holding myself together for months, through their arguments, their tension, their complaints about me being too involved, Too emotional, too much. I thought today would be different. I thought love would soften everything. I was wrong. As I reached the parking lot, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. For a moment, my heart lifted. Daniel. My baby boy. But it wasn't him. It was his childhood friend, Claire, her shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She looked at me the way no one else had tonight, with concern, not judgment. Are you okay? She asked gently. I forced a smile. I'm fine. You're not. Her voice cracked a little. That was awful. My throat tightened. He's married now. She's his family. Claire shook her head. You're his mother. That doesn't get erased. But standing there under the dim parking lot lights, I realized something painful. Love doesn't get erased, but sometimes it gets buried. She hesitated before speaking again. You know he wanted to come after you, right? I looked at her sharply. Then why didn't he? Because he's torn, she whispered. And Emily, well, she doesn't make it easy for him to stand up to her. I felt a tear slip down my cheek. He used to run to me for everything. Even when he was 22 and pretending he didn't need me. Claire's face softened. He still needs you. He's just lost. Lost. Yes. That made sense. But what about me? Where was I supposed to go now? How was I supposed to fit into a life that had no space left for me? My voice trembled. I didn't mean to ruin anything. You didn't, she said firmly. Please don't blame yourself. But mothers always do. We carry the weight of every silence, every misunderstanding, every tear we accidentally cause. I took a shaky breath. Claire, thank you. But I should go home. Before someone else sees me like this. She nodded, hugging me softly. Call me, okay? Don't go through this alone. As she walked back inside, I stood beside my car, gripping the door handle. I wanted to drive away quickly, disappear before the ache fully caught up to me. But my hands were trembling too much. I leaned against the car and let the tears fall silently, slow, shaking, painful tears that tasted of years of memories and months of quiet heartbreak. For the first time since Daniel was born, I felt like I no longer had a place in his world. When I finally gathered myself and drove home, the house felt different. Quieter. Emptier. Almost like it knew I had been replaced. I walked inside, turned on a single lamp, and sat on the couch with the bracelet still clenched in my hand, the bracelet meant to welcome a new daughter into the family. Instead, it had become the reason I was pushed out of it. I whispered into the empty room, my voice breaking, when did I become invisible? But no one answered. No one heard. And that was the part that hurt the most. Daniel's face was still fresh in my mind when I woke the next morning, but this time something inside me felt different. I had spent years bending, shrinking, and apologizing for things I never meant to do, but after last night, I felt a sharp break inside my chest. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the cold cup of tea I had made, thinking about how easily they had blamed me. I whispered to myself, no more. The words sounded soft, but they shook something loose in me. I kept replaying the moment when Emily slapped me at her wedding. The shock on my skin had faded, but the bruise in my heart stayed heavy. I had walked out of that hall with tears burning my eyes, expecting Daniel to chase after me. He didn't. He stayed beside her, like my pain was something he had learned to ignore. That hurt more than anything. That morning, he called. I almost didn't answer. But a mother always answers, even when her heart is breaking. His voice was tired. Mom, can we talk? He said. I swallowed hard and kept my tone calm. We can. He asked if he could come over. I said yes, even though part of me wanted to say no. I cleaned the living room even though it was already clean. Old habits. By the time he arrived, my hands were shaking, but not from fear. From resolve. He stepped inside quietly. For a moment, he looked like my little boy again, unsure and nervous. Mom, about yesterday, he started. I cut him off before the old pattern returned. Daniel, stop. He blinked, surprised. I had never spoken to him like that. I felt a strange strength rise in me. You let her slap me, I said. You stood there. He looked down. I didn't know what to do. I said, "You protect your mother. That's what you do." He whispered, "Emily said you were trying to show her up." My heart twisted. "Daniel, I gave her my mother's bracelet. How is that showing her up?" He didn't answer. I realized then that explaining myself again would only pull me back into the same old circle of blame. I took a slow breath. "Daniel, I love you. But I will not bend anymore. Not for her. Not even for you." He looked up quickly. "Mom, please don't say that." I said, "It's the truth." We sat for a long time. I could see him thinking, wrestling with his own choices. Finally, he said, "Emily won't like this." I replied, "Then she can learn. I'm done bending." The words settled between us like a quiet storm. I could tell he didn't know how to respond, but that wasn't my problem anymore. He stayed a little longer, but the conversation had reached its end. When he left, he hugged me tighter than usual. "I'll talk to her," he said. I simply nodded. No promises. No expectations. After he walked out, I sat on the couch, feeling the stillness of the house. For the first time in years, the silence felt peaceful, not lonely. I kept thinking about how many times I had let myself bend until I almost broke. Later that afternoon, Emily texted me. The message was short. "We need to talk." Normally, I would have rushed to fix things. But I didn't reply right away. I waited an hour. Then another. When I finally called her, my voice was steady. She said, "I think you overreacted yesterday." I answered, "Emily, don't speak to me like that again." She was shocked. "Excuse me?" I said, "You heard me." She tried to argue, but I didn't let her pull me into circles. I ended the call calmly. My hands didn't shake this time. That evening, I sat with a warm blanket around my shoulders and watched the lights outside my window. I felt different. Stronger. I knew this change would bring conflict, maybe even distance. But it would also bring peace. My peace. And I had earned it. But peace rarely comes without a price. The next day, Daniel called again. His voice was tight. "Mom, she's upset," he said. I answered softly, "I expected that." He sighed. "She thinks you're trying to control me." I felt a small sting, but I didn't let it pull me down. "Daniel," I said, "I'm not controlling you. I'm respecting myself." He didn't speak for a moment. Then he said, "She wants me to choose." I closed my eyes when I heard that. "And what do you want?" I asked. He whispered, "I want peace too." For the first time, I didn't try to guide him. I didn't give advice. I said, "Then choose what gives you peace." It shocked him. "You're not going to fight for me?" he asked. I shook my head even though he couldn't see it. "Fighting for you made me lose myself," I said. "I won't do that again." He stayed quiet. I could hear him breathing, slow and confused. "Mom," he said, "I don't know what's happening to us." I replied, "We're growing up, Daniel. Both of us." When the call ended, I sat alone, feeling a mix of sadness and strength. I loved him, but I loved myself too. For years, I forgot that second part. Later that evening, I made tea and opened the windows. The air felt fresh, like life was offering me something new. I realized I was not just a mother. I was a woman who deserved respect. And as I stood there, I thought about all the times I had lowered my voice, softened my words, and pretended I wasn't hurt. Those days were over. I whispered, "This is my moment." The moment I stop bending. And for the first time, I believed it. I knew the path ahead would be hard, but I trusted myself enough to walk it without fear or apology. I didn't expect the knock on my door to come so early the next morning. I was still holding my warm cup of tea when it happened, and for a second, I froze. Something told me this wasn't going to be peaceful. When I opened the door, Emily was standing there with her arms crossed, her face tight like she had been practicing her anger in the mirror. Daniel was a few steps behind her, looking like he had walked into a fight he didn't want to be part of. Emily didn't wait to be invited in. She walked right past me. "We need to settle this," she said. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the room. I took a slow breath and closed the door behind Daniel. I could feel my heart beating fast, But not from fear this time. It was something stronger. Something steadier. She stood in the middle of my living room like she owned it. "You embarrassed me at my own wedding," she snapped. I looked at her and felt a strange calm wash over me. "Emily," I said quietly, "you slapped me." She rolled her eyes. "Because you were trying to make everything about you." I shook my head. "I handed you a family bracelet. That's not stealing attention. That's love." Daniel stepped forward. "Emily, maybe we should." She shut him down with one hand. "No. She needs to hear this." I watched him shrink again, and something inside me hardened. For years I had taken the blame, softened my voice, and stepped aside. But this time, I was done. I sat down on the couch and looked up at her. "Say what you came to say," I told her. She looked surprised for a moment, like she didn't expect calm from me. Then she cleared her throat. "Daniel is my husband now. You can't interfere. And he agrees." She turned to him. "Right." His shoulders sagged. "I just want peace," he whispered. Emily lifted her chin. "Exactly. So we're here to set boundaries." I almost laughed at how bold she was, but I stayed quiet. She continued, "First, Daniel won't be coming here without telling me. Second, you need to stop expecting him to choose you over me. And third, no more emotional games just to get his attention." Her words hit me like tiny poisoned needles. Each one rude, unfair, and twisted. But I didn't bend. Not this time. I sat still for a long moment before I spoke. "Are you done?" I asked. She frowned. "No, I'm not done. You need to agree to this." I looked straight into her eyes. "I'm not agreeing to anything." She blinked fast, confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel stepped closer. "Mom, maybe we can talk about this." I shook my head. "There is nothing to talk about," I said. "If Emily thinks she can come into my home and dictate how I love my son, she's mistaken." Emily's face flushed with anger. "So you won't respect our marriage?" she snapped. I exhaled. "I respect marriage. But I don't respect control." She pointed at me. "You always make yourself the victim." I looked at her calmly. "I am not the victim today. I'm the line you cannot cross." Daniel looked torn, glancing between us like a boy stuck between two storms. "Please," he said softly, "can we just find a balance?" I turned to him, my voice gentle. "Daniel, I raised you with love. I stood by you every step of your life. I never asked you to pick sides. But if Emily wants to force that choice, it's her battle, not mine." Emily scoffed. "You're manipulating him again." I finally stood up. Not with anger. With clarity. "Emily," I said, "listen very carefully. I am done bending. I am done explaining myself. And I will not fight for space in my own son's life. If he wants to be here, he will come. If he doesn't, he won't. But I will not carry your insecurities." Her mouth opened but no words came out. I think she expected me to cry, to plead, to fold. Instead, I stood tall. Daniel stepped closer to me. "Mom, I don't want to lose you." I touched his arm lightly. "You won't lose me unless you walk away." Emily grabbed his other arm. "Daniel, don't do this emotional guilt thing," she said. "She knows exactly what she's doing." I looked at her with a softness she didn't expect. "I'm doing nothing. That's the point. I'm done fighting. I'm letting the truth speak for itself." For a moment, the room felt tight, heavy, like everyone was holding air they didn't know how to breathe out. Then Emily snapped, "Fine. If you want to play this game, then we're leaving." She pulled Daniel toward the door, but he didn't move. That shocked her. "Daniel," she whispered sharply. He swallowed hard. "Emily, she's not wrong." Her eyes widened. "What?" Daniel's voice shook a little. "I love you, but you can't ask me to choose. And you can't blame my mom for everything." Emily's shock turned into anger quickly. "You're taking her side." He shook his head. "I'm taking no one's side. I just want peace." She stepped back, breathing hard. Then she said something she probably didn't mean but couldn't take back. "Daniel, if you don't walk out with me right now, don't expect me to stay in this marriage." The room froze. Daniel went still, his eyes wide. Emily, don't say that. She crossed her arms. I mean it. My heart broke for him, but I didn't move. This wasn't mine to fix. Not anymore. Daniel took a slow breath. I can't choose like that, he said. Emily stared at him for a long time, then grabbed her purse and stormed out. The door slammed so hard the walls shook. Daniel stayed where he was, breathing fast. I waited. I didn't reach for him. I didn't speak. I let him feel everything he needed to feel. After a long silence, he whispered, "Mom, what did I do wrong?" I walked closer and gently touched his arm. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said. "Sometimes people use fear to control love. But love doesn't grow in fear." He broke down then, quietly, leaning into the side of my shoulder like he used to when he was a child. "I didn't want it to be like this," he said. I held him for a moment, my voice soft. "None of us did. But maybe this is the moment everything changes." He didn't answer, but I could feel his heart breaking and trying to rebuild itself at the same time. And as I stood there, holding the son I had almost lost to silence, I realized something. This confrontation wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the truth finally coming out. The morning after the confrontation, I woke up with a strange sense of calm. My chest still felt heavy from the fight, but it wasn't the same suffocating weight I had carried for years. For the first time, I realized I had a choice. I didn't have to shrink, apologize, or bend myself into someone else's expectations. I could finally be just me. The blue box from my birthday sat on the counter, still unopened. I hadn't touched it since the chaos at my son's house. For weeks, I had felt guilty every time I thought about it, guilt that it was gone, guilt that I had given it away too fast, guilt that my son and Emily hadn't treated it with care. But today, something inside me shifted. That box wasn't theirs to control anymore. It was mine. I picked it up carefully, running my fingers over the soft gold edges. My heart raced. I thought about how much I had given away of myself to keep peace. How many times had I sacrificed my feelings just to make others comfortable? Too many. And yet, I was still here. I had survived. I opened the box slowly. Inside were the chocolates my son had chosen for me, wrapped neatly and carefully. Even though some had melted and the scent was faint, I could feel the love behind them. It wasn't just chocolate. It was recognition. It was a small proof that I mattered to someone, even if no one else had said it. I didn't share them. I didn't give them away. Not this time. I held one in my hand, unwrapping it with trembling fingers. The sweetness was soft, almost like it whispered, "This is for you. Only for you." Tears filled my eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sadness or hurt. They were tears of relief. I had finally learned that love doesn't always have to be shared to be real. Sometimes, you need to take it for yourself first. Later that day, Daniel came over. His face was still heavy from the confrontation yesterday, but there was something different in his eyes too. Respect. Understanding. He didn't speak at first, just sat down beside me and watched me unwrap another chocolate. I offered him one anyway. "Do you want one?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, you keep them." I smiled softly. "I think I finally deserve them." He didn't argue. He just nodded and leaned back, watching me with a quiet sort of admiration. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the invisible mother. I felt seen. Not because anyone else had said it aloud, but because I had chosen to see myself. That night, I sat by the window with the box in my lap. I ate the chocolate slowly, savoring each bite. Memories of years gone by came rushing back, the birthdays I had celebrated alone, the dinners I had cooked for everyone but myself, the sacrifices I had made to keep my son happy. And I realized that all of those moments had built something inside me. Strength. Patience. Love that was untouchable by anyone else's rules. I whispered into the quiet room, "This is mine. All of it. I earned it." Then my phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "Can we talk?" Normally, I might have panicked. I might have worried about what she would say or done. But this time, I simply looked at it, took a slow breath, and deleted it. There was nothing she could say that would take away the gift I had claimed for myself. Daniel called later that evening. His voice was soft, almost hesitant. "Mom, I'm sorry about everything. I know I let you down before." I smiled, even though he couldn't see me. "Daniel, you didn't let me down. You just needed time to see what was real." He stayed quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm proud of you," he said. My chest tightened, but this time in a good way. "Thank you, sweetheart," I whispered. "That means more than you know." I felt like I was shedding an old skin, letting go of years of guilt, compromise, and bending. The gift wasn't just the chocolates. It was this moment of recognition. The moment I realized that I could stand tall without fear, without apology, without shrinking myself to fit anyone else's idea of what a mother should be. I kept the box by my side that night, savoring the small sweetness. But I also knew that the real gift was invisible. The real gift was the love I finally allowed myself to feel. The love that didn't need permission. The love that wasn't dictated by fear, manipulation, or anyone else's rules. I whispered to myself, "I am enough. I always have been." And in that quiet, trembling moment, I understood something profound. I didn't need anyone else to validate my worth. I didn't need approval or attention. I didn't need to be bending, apologizing, or shrinking. The gift of self-respect and self-love was mine to keep. And nothing, not even betrayal or manipulation, could take it away. Later, I placed the empty wrappers neatly in the box. I didn't throw them away. I kept them like a memory, a reminder that I had survived, that I had claimed my own joy, and that I had finally learned to say no to anyone who tried to diminish me. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Deep, quiet, unshakable peace. I looked around my home, breathed in the stillness, and whispered softly to the empty room, "This is for me. All of it. Only mine." And as I lay down that night, I realized I had finally learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes, the greatest gifts aren't meant to be given away. Sometimes, the greatest gifts are the ones you give to yourself. I smiled, eyes closing, heart light. The chocolates were gone, but the love, my love, was endless, untouchable, and entirely my own. What would you do if you were in my place? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.